She thought she was simply being controlled by fear, but she never expected that a real danger might be hiding behind that fear. When that silent figure finally responded to her, Julia finally realized that this game of surveillance had never been her choice alone from the very beginning. When her husband Francis came home from work, he discovered that Julia had been so terrified that she had broken down in tears. However, when the man heard what had happened and went to the window to take a look, the house across the way remained completely dark, as if nothing had ever happened. But after his wife repeatedly insisted, Francis eventually decided to call the police. Julia quickly described everything that had happened to her in detail to the police. She also handed over the photos captured by the surveillance camera. After receiving Julia's complaint, the police immediately decided to go to the other man's house to investigate the situation. Francis was worried and immediately followed them. This left Julia alone at home waiting for news. The long wait made Julia increasingly anxious. She had no idea what the police had actually discovered, and she had no idea whether, after Francis returned, she would once again be treated like a crazy woman. Finally, Francis returned home with a grave expression on his face.
Francis, was it him?
Listen to me for a second. Even if it was him, the guy lives in our neighborhood. It's not crazy to think that he'd be shopping at the same store.
You think I'm crazy?
No, I think you're stressed.
Stop!
Although the police investigation confirmed that the man across the way was indeed the one who had been following Julia, Francis still did not believe what his wife had told him. In his view, that man might simply be an ordinary peeping Tom, and the situation was nowhere near serious enough for Julia to be this frightened. But to Julia, this meant that she had lost the only person she could rely on. She could only endure her growing sense of unease all by herself. From that day on, whenever Francis was not at home, Julia would use a chair to firmly barricade the front door. She knew this could never truly stop a real danger, but at least by doing this, she could feel a small sense of security when she was alone. However, even so, she continued to suffer from nightmares every single day. In her dreams, that eerie man would always attack her whenever she let her guard down. Julia's mental state gradually reached the brink of collapse.
Irina?
At that moment, Julia seemed to hear a strange noise coming from the apartment next door. She immediately sensed that something was wrong. She was afraid that her neighbor might be harmed by that man, so she quickly called the building manager. Then, with everyone watching, she became emotional and demanded that they help open the door. But unexpectedly, everything inside the apartment was perfectly normal. It was simply that an elderly resident downstairs' cat had knocked over a lamp on a table. After this incident, the residents on the floor complained to Francis about his wife's strange behavior. Although Julia saw all of this, it did nothing to lessen her suspicions, because her neighbor could not have simply disappeared for no reason, until a sudden burst of urgent knocking once again caught Julia's attention. It turned out to be the neighbor's boyfriend.